get started.
There's me.
There's you. Guess you're going first, Kristen.
Hello, everybody. Hello, welcome. I'm assuming everyone can hear okay. Thumbs up that people have got cameras on. Yes, awesome. So welcome to Spray Free Pharmacy's first foodie event for 2021. I'm Kristen Ottaway. I'm the founder of Spray Free Pharmacy, and we are excited to be planning a whole heap of food-related events for you this year. From meeting the farmers who grow the food to the makers who do beautiful things with it, and workshops like this, which are all about inspiring you on things to do with that beautiful produce. So we want to connect you with where your food is coming from and then provide you with lots of ideas and inspiration on how to use all that beautiful produce. So tonight we are talking about meal planning and preparation. And there really couldn't be a better time to do that as we head back into the beginning of the school term. We all want to get organised so that we can ensure we're putting nourishing meals up for our families with the least amount of stress possible. So we are hosted tonight by Leah, who is a dear friend of mine, also a nutritional therapy practitioner, a recently qualified yoga teacher, a mum of two, and she works for us in her spare time and does about 50 other things. So she is well qualified in this area, and she's run many, many workshops like this before. So she's a perfect person to be providing this kind of inspiration. So without further ado, I'll leave it to you, Leah, to inspire us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kristen, and a beautiful introduction. I'm very excited for this workshop. I'm a little bit nervous also because there's so many people registered, so I'm trying not to think about that, but that's the beauty of online events. We can have everybody from everywhere joining in at a convenient time, which is really great. So Kristen introduced me, but a little bit more about myself and a little bit about my journey. Where do I start? I haven't always been interested in health and wellness, and I went through a personal journey myself where I was tired and suffered from Hashimoto's and which is underactive thyroid autoimmune condition, and just really was tired constantly all the time and just couldn't digest food properly and all those kind of things that were happening. And I went on a journey and discovered paleo and real food. And that's what really sparked my passion in spreading the message of real food. So I founded the Brisbane Paleo Group because I wanted to get more message out to people as much as possible, and wanted to study. And so I chose to study with the Nutritional Therapy Association. So their foundations are in real food and the message of that. So it was really aligned with what I wanted to, the message that I wanted to convey. And so I met Kristen. I think I've been on this journey now for like 8 or 9 years, and we met randomly at a film night and we put a film on together, and we've been working together ever since. And I'm so lucky that I get to work for Spray Free Pharmacy and get to spread the real food message from the farmers right through to you guys that are buying the produce. So I'm really love working for Spray Free Pharmacy. And on the days that I'm not working there, I'm working as a functional nutritional therapy practitioner and managing 2 children, like Kristen said, and doing yoga in the meantime. But the yoga component really came into it because, you know, when you are burning the candle at both ends because you are so passionate about everything that you want to do and all of the life that you want to lead, I did get quite stressed out, and it had a detrimental effect on my health. And so by doing the yoga, I really learned to slow down and be more mindful and take deep breaths, and you know, just really learned that was one of the obstacles in my health journey as well, was stress, and the yoga really came into a great play there with that. So my mission, apart from spreading real food message to everybody and as many people as possible, is also to help busy, stressed out families manage the way that they're eating, what they're eating, all of those kind of components that come into life by providing helpful tips to everybody. So hopefully tonight you'll get some helpful tips and you'll be able to minimize some of your stresses around mealtime and be a meal planning and preparation whiz ready for the start of this year. So let's get started. So tell us in the chat what you hope to learn from this workshop. So what expectation, intention, thoughts or anything, just jot it down in the chat. We'd love to know what you'd like to get out of this workshop. So is it to reduce stress around meal times? Is it just to learn some new tips? You're just happy to be part of the community? Is it to get more organized, or maybe it's to get healthier, and by having organization in the house you'll be able to have good food in the house. So just give you a minute there to put any things in there that you want to say. And Kristen, I don't know, you don't have to read out names, but maybe you want to call out a couple of the...
Sure. So quick, easy, healthy meals for busy families. Just want to learn some tips to get healthier, reduce mealtime stress, incorporate more vegetarian meals into our diet, tips on what can be frozen and how. Also a full-time uni and full-time work, so very time poor. Get more organized. I love the boxes, but I get too confused with what to do with the ingredients.
Good one. I like that. So I definitely can cover some of these intentions off and some of these thoughts. And what we don't cover off tonight, we can certainly address either in our next upcoming newsletters, or we can address in upcoming events. That's for sure, because everybody is definitely on the same page as what Kristen and I have been talking about, what we want to share with everybody. So I think that's fantastic. So thanks for sharing that. I just wanted to keep in mind with everything that we say and do tonight that you can take all of the information, you can take bits of the information, you can just not take any of the information. You know you best, so you do you. So that's my philosophy with everything. There's so much information out there, and you know your family best, what works for you. So what I hope to give you with the tips and tricks tonight is that you will be able to put things together in a way that you'll be able to do for you and your family, because you know that better than I do. Let's see if I can get rid of that panel at the top there. That's better. Okay. So are your meal times like this? Well, I don't think you'll probably be at this workshop if your meal times are like this, because you've already got it nailed. It seems that way anyway. What about, or is it more like this? I know in the past, my meal times have definitely been me like this. Like, you've got no time, you're running around, you're coming in from work, you're trying to get food on the table, the children are fussing and overtired from school or whatever they might be doing, and you're just like, I just need to get food on the table. And usually the first thing to do, and no judgment here because I've done it plenty of times myself, is just to pick up takeaway or something like that, something that's easy. So with meal planning and preparation, hopefully we can kind of reduce some of that noise, reduce some of that stress, and be able to put a plan in place so that when you get to that point, or if you do get to that point, you'll have something to fall back onto, and you'll have something already prepared, and you won't have that stress around meal times. So then you can actually sit down and enjoy the mealtime with your loved ones and make more time to do the things that you love with the people you love. So we want to make some great, nutritious, nutrient-dense food with love and not haste. And we're going to use meal planning and preparation with that. So first up though, we're going to do a little bit of an exercise. I'm not going to go straight into the traditional, this is why we meal plan. I'll do that next. But what I want to do is start off with a little bit of an exercise about how you feel you want your meal time to be like. What is your ideal meal time? Because sitting down to eat a meal in a stress state is terrible for your digestion. It's terrible for your health. So we really want to sit in a parasympathetic state, which is a rest and digest state. We want to be able to send that signal to the brain that tells the rest of the digestive process to chew the food properly, to relax and digest the food and get all those digestive juices flowing. So we want to think about some ways that we're able to think about how we can make mealtime less stressful. So for me, I was finding that I was coming in from work, rushing the kids home from after school activities and just throwing the food on the table. And then I was mindlessly eating just whatever was put in front of me, kind of putting it into my mouth. And that was giving me stress and anxiety and digestive pains and stomach pains and not feeling great at the time. So we had to really come up with a way of really making sure that the way we were eating was in a rest and digest state. So I came up with this idea of what's called the ceremony of eating. And what we're going to do is just go through a little exercise and create our own ceremony of eating. So basically the ceremony of eating is whatever you want to put down to help you get into that state around mealtime where you're in that relaxed state. So what worked for us, and you might like some of these ideas, is we created a consistent meal time. So what was happening is my husband was coming home a bit later, maybe about 7 o'clock at night, and the children were wanting to eat about 5:30. And so none of us were eating at the right time together. So what we did was we merged it all together and came up with a 6 p.m. dinner time so that we were, and that might not be accessible for everyone, but that's what worked for us. So we got together at 6 p.m. and that's when dinner would be on the table, and everyone had that expectation. Everyone knew dinner's at 6. We couldn't always have lunch together, although now that we're home more with all the restrictions and things that have been in place, we can have lunch together, which has been nice. But also breakfast was another time that we would also come together. So the two meals that were not negotiable that everybody needed to be at to sit down and have a proper meal was breakfast and dinner time. And then once we kind of worked out that these were the best times for us to get together as a family, we turned off those electronic devices. So we have a rule, there's no electronic devices at the table, and that includes mum and dad as well, no matter how hard that can be, especially if you're running online businesses and things like that. But we decided that this time was the time that we needed to dedicate to one another. And also the TV going in the background, the TV had to be turned off as well. A nice little way to keep the children kind of like busy or just something nice to do, even just for yourself, if you're not even eating for a family, is to actually set the table. Like, how many times does anybody do that these days anymore? It used to be like, I guess, you know, in our grandparents, maybe even our parents' time, the thing to do. You'd set the table and sit down, and you don't have to have a formal dinner. You don't have to have the right knife and fork or plates out properly in cups. I don't even know that etiquette anyway, but you can make up one that suits you and your family. So for us, the children absolutely loved putting a tablecloth down. So we'd get some nice bright pieces of material and put the tablecloth down. They loved going out to the garden, picking some flowers just from the garden and around the area, and then putting them into little glass bowls and putting them on the table, maybe lighting a couple of candles, just making something really nice about it. Even just setting the knife and fork down on the table and having a place set was really nice for the children as well. And then we started to think more about the food we're eating and having more conversations with each other around it. So the great thing about spray-free pharmacy is that we know where our fruit and vegetables are coming from. They're coming from local spray-free farmers from around the area. So we can have a conversation with the kids about where this food is coming from. And we can talk about the different types of food that we're eating and just really reconnect and mindfully eat the food rather than just kind of shoving it into our mouth while we're watching the television. Another idea about your ceremony of eating is you might like to grow your own food. So you could grow your own herbs and go and pick them from the garden, get the children to pick them, you pick them just before dinner time, sprinkle them onto your meals. That's another great thing. And I know like lots of people have been getting chickens during COVID, and we had some chickens for a while there as well. And it was a great experience for the children just to kind of go out to the backyard and get their eggs from the chickens and know where it all comes from. And another way, even if you can't even do those things, maybe you live in a small area, you don't need to grow your own food, you don't need to get chickens, you could just get the children involved in cooking or even get the whole family involved in cooking. So we used to have a relatively small kitchen in a previous house before we had children, and my husband and I would always be like, only one in the kitchen, and we could never cook together because there wasn't enough room. But we have a bigger kitchen now, and so I never turn my children away from the kitchen, no matter how stressed and busy I am. If they want to be in the kitchen and want to cook with me or try the food as I'm cutting it up and eating it, I let them, because I think it's all part of the experience of being in the kitchen together, cooking together, and the beauty of all of that. So just think for a moment out of these ideas, and maybe you have some of your own ideas that you want to share in the chat with everybody else. How would you create your own ceremony of eating? Do you know what meal times you would like to set down to make? Maybe it's just breakfast to start with. Maybe breakfast is the meal that you want the whole family to come together and sit down for. Is there something that you can do? Maybe like one day the children can go and pick some flowers, or another time my children wrote a menu out and they decorated and colored in, which was a really good activity to do while I was trying to get dinner on the table for them, because it kept them occupied. It was also a conversation around the food we were having. But all of this puts us into that great parasympathetic rest and digest state so that we can really relax and then digest our meals. So after the call tonight, I'll be sending out an email, and I'll have some of these prompts in here for you as well, so you can go back and create your own ceremony of eating. And then we'd love for you to be able to share if you feel like it, or even take photos and post them in the pharmacy group so we can see all your ideas around how the ceremony of eating works well for you and your family. Okay, so now meal planning, we'll get into the whys of meal planning and why it's so important. And some of the obvious ones are money. You can stick to you can be on a budget and stick to it because you can only buy what it is that you need to buy. Then also, when you're only buying what it is that you need to buy, you also waste less food that way, because you are organized and you know what it is that you need to buy. So then you're not just buying frivolously and just buying all different things that often ends up into waste. And the great thing about spray-free pharmacy as well is that we don't have minimum orders, so that if you only need a small order 1 week, you're not locked into having to buy a certain amount of fruit and veg. You can just buy what you need. So you're only buying what you need and you're not wasting any of that food as well. Meal planning is also a fantastic time saver. So you can cook ahead and use the time for what matters for you most and your family. Also, you're prepped and you're ready to go, so it's going to save time there as well. And then variety, so you can try different recipes, you can eat well at home, and you can eat out less as well if that's one of your goals too. We were finding, like I mentioned before, we were like eating out quite a fair bit because we'd often get home because we were tired and forgotten to get protein out of the freezer or something like that. And so then we're just going, oh, well, we'll just order in. So all of this kind of noise gets eliminated once you can meal plan. Stress less, the week is planned. Structure. So meal planning gives you a structure and consistency and the knowing exactly what it is that's coming up. It's got that expectation. So if your meal planner is out on display for everybody, they know that expectation of what the meals are going to be, that there's that structure, especially around uncertain times. It gives that certainty of knowing that those meals are going to be what you'll be having. And then the other one is like energy saver as well. So like the energy that you spend trying to think about and doing things, it's already all planned out, but also for the environment as well, and that in terms of using the energy in the kitchen and things like that. So when we get into meal preparation, you'll see how we can use all of the oven to do multiple things rather than just turning the oven on one night and then turning it on the next night. So we're trying to minimize some of the time that we spend in the kitchen and also minimize some of the power that we're using for the environment. But the one that I really love that you might not have thought of is the energy exchange, the satisfaction of preparing a meal for loved ones, knowing exactly what ingredients you've put into it. You know that feeling, you've spent that time in the kitchen, you've lovingly made something and you sit down and you eat it together, and someone turns to you and says, wow, this is fantastic. Sometimes you might not always get that response, but yeah, and I've had plenty of those, but just that energy exchange, knowing that you've provided for your family a beautiful meal, and it's full of nutrient density, and you know that this is the health that you can give to your family, I feel is like a really important aspect of meal planning and preparation as well. Okay, so we're going to get into the how of meal planning now. So with the meal planning, there's a few different ways that I like to do it, and you might have some other ways as well, so feel free to share those. But I just have a standard piece of paper on the fridge with a magnet on the back. I picked it up probably at like Kmart or somewhere like that for a couple of dollars, and it's already kind of pre-printed and it's just easy and it's up there. And when I rip the paper off to know to start the next week, I actually keep that paper, because then I have another meal plan ready to go every now and then. I can just stick it back up when I want to use it again. Another option you can choose is to use an app. So Real Plans is an app that I recommend. I have a license for that, so I'm able to provide that to anyone that's interested. It is an amazing program. It has thousands of recipes in it. They're all Whole30, paleo, all different dietary requirements, autoimmune, FODMAP, all these kind of things. You can just put all of them into the your requirements into this planner, and then plan the recipes, and then you can move all the recipes around to how you want to configure it for the week. Print it out, has an app to your phone, take the app and you can go shopping with the groceries that you need to get as well. So it's a really fantastic program, and just feel free to message me later on if you want to know more about that and the costs and stuff. The other apps that you can use is, and they've got free versions of them, is Chronometer and like MyFitnessPal. And they're usually traditionally used for logging food. So you could you usually like eat the food and then log it, and then it tells you, your macronutrients for the day or calories or whatever it is that your goal is. But this, using them in the other way, is that you can plan out your meals for the week and have everything set out and ready in there, and then just check off as you go along. So it's kind of like using it before the fact rather than after the fact. And the other way is like, this is what I probably call the, you might be like more of a risk taker. And it's not really a big risk, but you just order your weekly box and you get your set box, or your customized box, and comes to you, and then you decide from there what to make from those meals. And I think someone mentioned before that was a little hard for them, so you might want to use one of the traditional kind of planning methods first up. But we will be definitely providing you with meal ideas and inspirations seasonally from the boxes with what's in them. I think that's a really important aspect of knowing what to do with the vegetables, how to prepare them, and all of those things, what recipes you can use. So we'll definitely be doing more events like that in the future. So just make a note what you're thinking might suit you best. Are you a more traditional paper type person? Are you a more of an electronic device type person? Or are you the risk taker? I know Kristen's the risk taker. She'll get the box and then just decide what to do with it from there. She's a bit of a rebel. So I'm more traditional. I'll use the paper method or the electronic. So if you feel like it, just put it in the chat. What type of person are you? I want to know all these risk takers out there. Okay, so yeah, there's a picture. You can just type up a simple document on the computer as well. So.
Sorry, I was just watching a webinar.
Kristen, get someone on mute there. Okay, all right, so once you've decided what kind of meal planner or meal planning system or program you want to use, then the best thing to do is just sit down and set out a time to plan. So for me, the best time for me to plan was Friday night when I'm sitting watching TV with my husband, because we're not really going anywhere. So I'll sit down and I'll get the meal planner out then, because then I know Saturday my box will be delivered. I also know I can run out to the shops and get whatever things I need. And then Sunday, I can use some of the time on Sunday for meal preparation. So that's just what works well for me. You might have a better day where you find during the week, like some people like to use Mondays, some people like to use Sundays. So just think of the best time for you to start that. And then the first thing I do before I even get into the food is list all the events that I have on for the week. So if I know that we've got after school sport on one of the days, or we've got something on one of the nights, or on the weekend, we've got a dinner out, I will schedule all of that into the calendar first. And then when I look at that, I can see, oh, right, Tuesday night we have swim club. I don't like the food at the canteen that they provide there, or I don't want to be eating that food. So hope no one's from my school. And so what I will be doing then is just heating up the food and then taking it with me. So then I know that I have to have that meal pre-prepared and ready to go. So then on my meal planner, I'll write big circle around that. Need a meal prepared for that, probably a couple of days prior, and maybe even frozen and then reheated on the day. Then if it's like a dinner out, then I know that I don't need to order as much food for that week if we've got something on the weekend as well. So just going through and just putting those events in. And then, and this is an exercise that you can do at the moment, even before you start meal planning, is take note of the meals that you have on high rotation and that your family know and love and enjoy. And so I posted the other night on Instagram, I feel like I make butter chicken 7 days a week because the children love butter chicken. And it's a quick, easy meal that we can always throw together. So butter chicken would be on my list of family recipes that everybody loves, that I know are going to eat, they're going to eat. And so same with bolognese would probably be another one, and sausages would probably be another one as well. And so then when I have like those 3 or 4 nights where I know I need, I'm coming in from work, or I'm busy, or, you know, I just don't want to think about it. I don't want to have an argument with a child over fussy eating, whatever it might be. They're the meals that I go to. They're the 3 or 4 that I know. On say like Friday night, I'll use the 5th night as a leftover night. So I'll always make extra whenever I'm cooking these meals. I'll make like, if we're a family of 4, so I'll make like for a family of 8, you know, so then I'll have lunches, then I'll have some I can freeze, and then I'll have some even for leftovers on Friday night. And Friday night's a bit of a potluck dinner. So like if there's bits of different leftovers, we could be all eating different meals that we've had from during the week. And so just that way I'm minimizing the waste. I'm not throwing away meals that we haven't gotten to eating. And then on the weekend, or when you have more time, this would be a perfect time to try out 2 or 3 recipes from all those cookbooks that you have sitting on your shelves that you haven't used for a long time, or any of your online places that you love to go to. So you can just look up recipes online, and then there's something that you've been wanting to try. So I really like to just go through and see something that I haven't tried before, get the children to try it, see if they enjoy it. But I'll do that maybe like on the weekend when I have time to cook for a bit longer, and time when they're not busy, not tired, and needing to go to bed early and things like that. They're more relaxed. So when they're more relaxed, they're not as, we're all not as stressed, more willing to try things, more willing to talk through the foods that we're having. So it just brings that extra enhancement of reducing the stress at mealtime. If you're just stuck totally all together, I usually just say to start with protein. That's a pretty good place to start. So whatever your protein choices are, whether it might be some seafood, meat, whatever it is, you just put down the protein first and then build your meals around that. And that's the same with the veggie box. You could see what's in the box this week, think about all the salad you could make, or maybe the roasted veggies that you would make, and then find the protein to go with that. So you could start either way with those. That's when you're looking for more inspiration, rather than like you don't know what it is that you're going to be cooking for the week and you want to try a few different things. You can just start that way. And then always on my meal planner, I will always put what I'm going to meal prep onto that. So I'll usually load that up. My meal prep day is Sunday, and I'll just load that up on the Sunday day. So let's talk a little bit about meal preparation now. So like I was saying, Sunday is my meal prep day. Just only need to devote a couple of hours to it each week to really get it set up. Set up your system. So whatever it might be, I'll give you a guide in a minute of what some of those systems might be. So I really like Sarah Wilson had a book out years ago called Simplicious. And in that, she said to create and find your flow. And it's, you know, I really like that kind of terminology about it. So it's like, while you're in the kitchen, what other things can you be doing at the same time? Where can I minimize stuff for later on in the week? Where can I, if I've got the oven on, how many things can I put in the oven? What can I keep doing with that? So just finding that flow. And then she's also suggests like look for one to 2 fun projects as well. So if you've always been wanting to try ferment and making that yourself, or dehydrating food, that would be a fun project to do on the weekend, trying something a little bit different. Or it might not even need to be as much as that. It could be just making a different salad dressing and that you haven't tried before, and then kind of putting that in away for the rest of the week to use as well. And one thing that I really, really love that I heard a few years back from Melissa Jarwin, who wrote a book called Well Fed, was to run your kitchen like a restaurant. So if you think about proteins, if you're eating meat and things like that, they are cooked best. They're cooked and eaten best right at the time that they're cooked. So, and things like curries and stews, they add flavor over time. So on the Sunday, it would be really great to make up a curry or a soup or a stew. Those types of things would be much better to, say, eat on Wednesday, which would be still perfectly fine from cooking ahead, or even freezing and then reusing. Whereas something like a steak or a lamb chop or something like that would be best cooked and then eaten straight away, because that's the taste is better that way. So just thinking about those things too, like when you're managing your time, where would you fit those in? And also some of the meal preparation tips we've been posting in the pharmacy group as well. So I posted the other day veggie paste stock. So that's where I keep all the ends of all the veggies as I'm chopping them up. And I usually either put them in my broth when I'm making bone broth, or I will freeze them and then put them in the veggie paste stock if I'm making a veggie paste stock up. Other things you could do to get ahead was like, the other one that I posted was my daughter and I made smoothie packs. So we got all the fruit and sectioned it out, froze that so that she has like a little pack to pull out. And then we have the protein powders into little section containers, and she's only 7. So then she can just pull out a smoothie, one of those frozen fruit packs, the powders, and just adds her liquid into the blender and makes it herself. So there's some time saver there as well. She's feeling like she's independent, and it saved me a lot of time because I haven't had to stand there and throw everything in and make it all. She's been able to do it herself. So little time saving tips there that you can incorporate into your meal preparation day, whatever day that might be. After, when I send the email out to everybody tonight, I will include a book, my ebook called The Chicken Story, which basically just talks you through how to use one whole roasted chicken and turn it into many different meals. And there's all recipes in there. So look out for that one as well. So, you know, and from that book, this is some of the ideas in it, but like, this is my sample Sunday cook up. I usually, you know, boil 6 eggs. They're great for snacks. They're great in salads. Or cook 1 whole chicken. While the chicken's cooking, I'll cook a couple of trays of vegetables in the oven as well. And maybe even a tray of granola if I'm making my own granola. Once the chicken is cooked, I will take all the meat off that. I'll make a chicken broth out of the bones and use the chicken for salads or dinner or whatever it might be. At the same time, I'll prep a couple of salads. I've got the vegetables coming out of the oven. I can make those into a frittata, which we'll eat for breakfast for the rest of the week. While the oven's on too, I might also throw in there some, you know, muffins or something for the kids or a slice or something like that for their school lunches. And I can also have the slow cooker on at the same time. So then, you know, I've spent a couple hours in the kitchen, but I've made, you know, 5 meals or more ready for the week. So that's just ways of kind of minimizing your time. Another idea is batch cooking, which you might have heard of that term before. And the simplest way to batch cook is just double or triple the recipe that you're cooking. You can then eat that for dinner, eat that for lunches, or you can like save 1 or 2 meal portions from that, and that'll slowly build up your freezer. So then when you get to Friday night and you feel like reaching for the phone for takeaway, you'll have a lovely home cooked meal already in the freezer that you can just pull out and eat. When you're batch cooking too, another suggestion is to cook the items with ingredient crossover, or prepare the items with the ingredient crossover. So if you're handling onion and you need onion for a couple of different meals, and garlic, you can just chop them all up at once in that one time and then use those in the meals. Same if you're doing meat, like you can have your mince and then make that base and then use that for different flavors later on as well. But my all-time favorite thing to do is to cook once, make many. And so here's some ideas for the cook once, make many. So I've just used chicken as an example in here, but you could use whatever protein you like. And basically I'll just get the slow cooker out. I'll cook a large piece of whatever the protein is only in broth, little bit of onion and garlic, maybe. Sometimes I might even just leave it plain. And when it's done, I'll shred the protein, and then I'll package that down into little freezer sizes. And then, so that we don't get sick of eating the same 3 kilos of chicken or whatever it was that I made, when you pull it out of the freezer, that's when you can get creative and start making different ideas with it. So one night you might like to have Mexican night. So as I pull the protein out, I'm going to add some Mexican spices back through it. Now, it's not exactly the same as having the meat and the spices all cooked through it and you get those flavors expanding, but it still gives you good enough flavor for a quick weeknight meal. So, you know, I might put in a spice mix in there with cumin and paprika and coriander and all those things and mix that together. And then I might make a mayonnaise and add some chipotle powder into that to go with it. And then a flatbread, which is just like made out of the cassava flour and egg and water. I think it is a very simple recipe and makes a great flatbread that you can use with any of that. And I think we've even tried to get that in the air fryer and crisp it up a bit. So if you want to have it a bit more crispy as well. Also, you know, then you could have like a Greek night, or you could have an Indian night, just adding different spices, adding different sides, adding different vegetable options. And there's, you know, 4 different kinds of ways. And it's also fun for the kids as well, because, you know, you might have kind of like Indian curry night and they can get excited about eating cuisine from somewhere else, and that can start a conversation as well. So lots of different kind of ideas there as well. Were you going to say something, Kristen? Yeah.
Just a quick question. Sorry, then I remembered you want to save questions for the end, but this will be a quick one. What containers do you use to freeze food?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I am terrible using glass and have broken more things than I'd like to kind of admit. I haven't mastered that trick, but maybe at the end we might have a bit of a discussion around that and see what ideas we can come up with for storage for freezing. At the moment, I've actually been using these little kind of plastic, I know it's plastic, but it's like reusable plastic bags that Aldi have on, and they've got like a special seal in it. So I've been using them a lot, because you can keep reusing them for more liquid based kind of things, more stews and things like that. And they've been working quite well. They come in like I think they're like sandwich bags, but they're reusable ones. But yeah, we can definitely have a discussion about that. Obviously, I don't heat up the food in that plastic container. I put it into a bowl and then into the saucepan and then heat it up that way. Batch processing. So batch processing, similar to batch cooking, in that batch processing, you can't really freeze the ingredients. So batch processing is more, you know, ingredients in advance of food that you can't freeze, like a salad, like making a big salad ready for the week. So, you know, a suggestion is you wash all your greens as soon as they come in, dry them. If you've got a salad spinner thingy, you can dry them, and then store them in the fridge in a glass container lined with paper towel. And then that will keep your greens nice and fresh. Then you can cut up like your tomatoes and your capsicum or whatever it is that you're cutting up, and pre-cut those kind of things up. And they'll last a couple of days. And then cook your protein, whatever it might be, and store it in the fridge as well. And then when you're ready to put the salad together, you just grab all those ingredients and then on top put something like your avocado, which you know that's not going to last very long. But that salad takes a very short amount of time to put together because you've already prepped everything. So that's like a batch process. So you might be able to find some other areas in your meal preparation that you can batch process. You know, we probably could do a whole workshop on storing veggies and, you know, freezing things and stuff like that. I know that was one of the questions. So maybe we can have a discussion about that at the end as well. But things like, you know, every couple of days, you might want to have a mini prep hour where you cut up a few of the veggies ready to go, like your carrots and celery and things like that. And they'll last a couple of days, and then you know, you might do that Sunday and then Wednesday cut up a few more. So you're not doing the whole lot, but you're just doing a few at a time, so they like get you through a couple of days. And then another kind of way of cooking that I really love is slow cooking. And here's some tips on slow cooking. So just putting the firm vegetables on the bottom first because they take longer to cook. Put the meat on top of the veggies if you're having meat. And then if you're just adapting recipes from from regular recipes to slow cooking, just to remember to reduce the liquids, because the liquids don't often reduce in a slow cooker, and then you'll end up with like heaps of liquid. I know some of the newer slow cookers now, they can put on a function that kind of cooks it a bit faster than some of the other ones. And then like if you're going to be adding coconut milk or cream or soft veggies, just do that in the last hour so that everything doesn't turn to mush, and that's how you can kind of keep everything really lovely in the slow cooker. I also love, I have like a pressure cooker as well, and I love the pressure cooker. It just does everything like in 20 minutes or less, and it's like that a really rapid kind of heat, and I just find that can save a lot of time as well, and it all tastes like it has been slow cooked. And then also air frying. I won't even go into air frying yet because that's like a whole big topic, but air frying is like the latest trend at the moment, and air frying is fantastic. There's so much that you can do with that, so we have to have a whole event on air frying. All right, so I've just given you a whole lot of information, lots of things to kind of think about. I'm sure you've got lots of questions and lots of things going on, so I'm definitely going to get to those. So we're just going to take a breath, not let it try and overwhelm you. Know that, you know, you can start anywhere you need to start. You don't have to do everything at once. You might just want to make one small change in the next few days, or you might even just want to take note of just, you know, taking note of the favorite meals in the house. So you have a collection and know those meals that everybody loves. If you get stuck for any ideas at all, I really like this method that I work with a lot of clients, and this is our method that we always kind of put together whenever we're stuck for meal ideas. And it's always just choose 1 protein, 1 fat, and 1 to 3 veggies. And so that could be a piece of salmon, some leafy green veg, and some butter or something like that. Just very simple. We don't need to overcomplicate things. We can just do things very simplistically. Like quite often we would just do something very simple like that. I'm not whizzing in the kitchen paleo lasagna every night or anything like that. I don't have time for that. And, you know, I always say, and let's face it, doesn't taste the same as a real lasagna anyway. So I just stick to simple things, and these are, you know, using good quality proteins, fats, and vegetables. I know I'm providing a well-balanced, nutrient-dense meal for my family. So just to recap, so we started off talking about making food with love, not haste, and trying to avoid some of the stress around meal times, trying to get in that rest and digest state, so that we can digest our meals properly, so we're not eating rushed and we're being more mindful. We talked about creating our own ceremony of eating, so what suits you and your family best to sit down into that comfortable state. We talked about why meal planning and preparation is so important, and the one that I love the most is that energy exchange of, you know, cooking something with love that your family is going to enjoy, so that you can have more time to enjoy the things that you want to do with your loved ones. And we talked about choosing your way of meal planning. So whether that's the paper, whether that's the using the devices or apps, or whether you're the risk taker like Kristen and you take your, you get your fruit and veg box and then decide what you're going to make from it. We talked about tips on preparation, batch cooking, batch processing, slow cooking. And then we took a moment to breathe, which I'm going to take a moment to breathe in a minute and let you guys do some talking. I just wanted to let you know, and I'll send this out in the email as well, that I have Restart program starting next Wednesday night. It's a 5-week course. Goes through digestion, blood sugar regulation, getting more fats into the diet, lots of menus, meals, recipes, and tips. Talks about vitamins and minerals and hydration. Like hydration is so important. it's educational. It's also happens to be like a sugar detox built into that. So if you're looking for like a 3-week kind of sugar detox, get back on track, or just clean up your diet, then Restart's perfect for you. Its foundation is in nutritional therapy, which is what I'm trained to do in. And yeah, it's a really great program. I just love it. We have a great community, all sharing recipes, and yeah, it's fantastic. So I'll link that up as well afterwards if you're interested. It starts next Wednesday night. And as a extra bonus for being part of the webinar or this workshop, I've included access to Real Plan's meal planning system for the 5 weeks that you're doing the Restart program as well. So that can really help you get on track with your meal planning as well. And if you want to get in contact with me, I'm sure you can just drop me a line in the pharmacy family. But if not, you can find me at Nourishing Conversations on Instagram is probably the place I hang out the most at. My website's currently down at the moment, so there's nothing on there at the moment. I'm just getting that back up and working on that. And I have a podcast called Low Carb Conversations because, as you can probably tell, I love to talk. And so I talk each week to special guests, reviewing, debating, debunking the latest news, health headlines, and various topics. So thank you so much for listening to me. I am going to pause the record, or stop the record now. I'm going to exit out of the share screen as well. Let me just figure out all these controls.